Welcome to Lunch and Learn today. We're going to talk about the buyer psychology about preference. Okay. And again, today we're talking about speed sells. So, why does speed sell? And how can we use that to make our services more valuable, to the people that we serve, and in the meantime also get paid more quickly. Okay. Um, let's talk about something that's kind of interesting. 1 in 4 prescriptions, that's over 1 billion prescriptions, okay, are never filled according to the CDC. So that's 1 out of 4 every year. All right. Why is that? Okay. Post in chat if you think you have an idea of why that is. Is it because of cost? Right? Is it because of logistics? You know what I mean? The pharmacy's way on the bad side of town. I don't want to go get my drugs over there, right? Is it something else? Well, according to a 2018 paper by on PubMed, you guys can find this yourself. There are a couple of different reasons. All right, let's talk about the little ones first. One is that people choose a lifestyle modification instead. All right, like they decided they'd rather, diet and exercise is going to work for them. Cost is a factor. 16% of the people, have a problem with cost, and then logistics, like, that pharmacy's out of network, that pharmacy's on the wrong side of town. Logistics is 11% there. But an overwhelming majority here, 64%, like 2 out of 3, don't do it because of their beliefs about speed and efficacy, okay? Their beliefs about speed and efficacy. And this is interesting, right? This is very interesting. What's even cooler is that in the 90s, it used to be worse, okay? In the 90s, it was 1 out of 3 scripts that weren't being filled. And John Hopkins residents, it's a famous story, but John Hopkins residents, they would, one time right before they're about to end their residency, they would go and they would clean up trash in the parking lots of primary care physicians and family doctors. And the residents, all did this and they thought it was some part of some little community service, right? But what it really taught them was that how many people were just disregarding their advice, because inevitably what they're picking up in the parking lot are these crumpled up little paper prescriptions. So it was worse in the 90s. 33%, 1 out of 3 people wouldn't fill the prescriptions in the 90s. The only thing that made it more, people start taking more medication now in the modern times, is that we turned prescriptions into electronic. We started sending them directly to the pharmacy. So we made it even easier on the people, and that's what made them adopt it more. But they're not taking the advice of their doctors. At least 1 out of 4 times they're not doing it. And the reason they're not doing that is because they want to feel better now. They want to feel better now. Okay. That's what all the data is showing us, is that clients really aren't interested in a solution that is going to take them forever, to get it done. Okay. And they felt bad. That's why they go to the doctor. And then when they feel like they've been heard, they feel a little bit better, right? But they do not want to take long action. They would much rather have a solution that's going to work for them quickly. I mean, ideally, I think there are a lot of people out there, if we could just take a pill, you know what I mean, instead of having to eat and prepare healthy food for yourself and exercise, there are tons of people that would just take a pill instead of doing those things. All right. Thumbs up in the chat if you know what I'm talking about. Tons of people that will prefer, that kind of convenience. But if you compare, if you look at this, diet and exercise versus GLPs. All right. So we'll take the options of diet and exercise versus something that's a little bit, convenient. So diet and exercise is free, right? You're eating anyway. You just make different choices about what you eat, okay? And exercise, I mean, you don't even have to join a gym. You can just walk out in your yard and find something heavy and push it around. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could go work for your local grocery store and push their carts around in the parking lot. They may even pay you for your exercise. You know what I mean? So diet and exercise are free, but it's gonna be slow, right? Now, if you take these other drugs like GLP-1s, okay, Ozempic, Mounjaro, right now these are all blockbuster drugs. These are some of the most prescribed things that are in America right now. And people that are not having it covered by insurance are paying somewhere between $900 and $1,500 a month. just to have access to this. And again, in these cases, convenience beats price. Now, I've got a friend who is a doctor here, and he works in peptides like GLP-1s and these other little interesting compounds that are precursors to hormones, right? So it's not testosterone, but it's the precursor for testosterone and those kind of things. And I ask him about this stuff all the time. He's one of these longevity wellness doctors, right? Like Peter Attia, And I ask him all the time, I'm like, what's up with, Ozempic, Mounjaro? And he said, look, what we do and what we find is that we've been talking about diet and exercise for decades and people aren't doing anything about it. But if I can show them, okay, some quick weight loss using some of these options, then they jump on the diet and the exercise. Then they start doing what they're supposed to do. He's like, Jimmy, it's unbelievable. We have 81% of people like adhering to a diet and exercise after they have used the Mounjaro. So in his case, right, showing people quick gains with weight loss, even if it's crazy expensive, leads them to start making the good decisions, okay? Isn't that kind of interesting? So you give them speed and convenience, and they start doing the right things they should have done anyway. If we take a look at convenience and speed versus price, you find it in all kinds of verticals. If we're looking at, cooking your own meals versus delivery, cooking is definitely less expensive. Doctors tell us it's going to be a lot more healthy because we can limit the amount of additives and things that are in our food, right? But again, delivery is frictionless. If you didn't want to cook yourself, you go out to Longhorn, right? But people don't even want to do that. They want to get their Longhorn delivered via DoorDash, or their Chipotle. I know we got Chipotle fans on the call. They want to get their Chipotle delivered via DoorDash. They don't even want to go to the restaurant to pick it up anymore. And they're paying to do all those things. So once again, convenience is winning out, and people are telling us, everybody's telling us that what they want is speed and convenience, okay? So how can we make this work in life insurance? All right. Well, when it comes to term, we've got a couple of different ways that we can take a client, right? You've got full underwriting, okay, which comes with, as much information as we can give to an insurance company. They're going to come to your house and start looking under your mattress and see what's going on see what's going on in your life for real. They're going to go back in time, for decades and see what kind of person you've been, right? They're pulling consumer reports, they're pulling spending data, they pull all kinds of stuff, and it takes 6 to 8 weeks. Well, if we compare that with what is now available, right? Instant issue term products, products that are approved same day or within 3 days, is simple and immediate. That is what the market wants. How about final expense, right? You have carriers, you got companies out there that are the price leaders, right? They're the price leaders, but they're hard to work with, okay? They're really hard to work with. They're not the ones that are out there trying to approve your clients. They're declining people for things that you can get approved elsewhere. You know who the companies are that are difficult to work with. Do they provide you that speed and convenience that you need? What we have to remember is that clients, they don't really understand what any of this stuff costs, okay? Because they're not educated very well in the market. It's up to us as advisors to educate them on that. And they don't look at, tables with tons of products and companies on it day in and day out like you do, okay? Some of you guys are going to do 5 or 10 applications today, whereas a normal consumer is only going to get life insurance in their life 3 to 5 times, period, from start to finish. You guys are going to do that in one day, whereas they will only do this, just a few times in their life. So again, they don't understand about price, but what they do over and over again in every other vertical is that they are choosing ease. They are choosing convenience, and they're choosing convenience with their wallets. Okay. So how can we use this? How can we use this built-in piece of just human behavior to help ourselves out? Well, what we can do is we can give them what they want. We can remove the effort from them. We can make it as easy as possible for them to sign an application. And so you're looking at carriers that can do text to sign options if that's how the customer's communicating with you. If they got a little bit more, they're a little bit more tech savvy, then you can use an email to sign option. All right. But we're removing, the friction when it comes to a sale, even if that means that policy is $5 or $6 more a month, right? because again, what matters is the policy that they are approved for quickly, because they, for whatever reason, they clicked on your ad, they clicked on, one of the web ads that generated someone to call in. They picked up and they dialed the 10 digits on your phone number, okay? Or they called one of our commercials, but they have a reason that they wanted to do that. And that reason is they want to feel better now. They want to feel better now. And we have to give them opportunities and options that let that happen, okay? So what is the convenient prescription for folks in the final expense world? Just post it up in chat. Who are the easiest companies to do business with, okay? And who will approve your clients now, okay? So for level business, who will approve your clients now? Somebody's out there like, AIG will take everything. You know what I mean? We could slam everybody and guaranteed issue. No, I'm asking who will approve your clients for level business now, okay? And what you will find is these are going to be some of the same carriers that your brokerage managers are talking to you about, okay? That those in the higher up are talking about, because they will move quickly and approve your clients now. And they're easy to work with, okay? They've got sales support that'll pick up the phone and talk to you as an agent, you know what I mean? And help you get your cases approved. They'll read your underwriting notes, okay? So again, who are the easiest companies to do business with? That should be your lead carrier, okay? I didn't say anything about price. There are tons of very low priced companies out there that play on that game, but what do they make it hard to do? They make it hard to get your clients approved. They have longer look backs for things like cancer, right? They have more stringent, they have more stringent ways when it comes to who could pay for a policy and who can't, and how they accept payment, right? Go with the companies who can approve your clients today so that they can feel better now, right? On the term side of things, right? We've got two amazing options. We've got two great options that can, help people now. If a person's under 50, they're extremely healthy, right? Or if you have a really small AP policy, Banner has a flash term product, very limited distribution. We're only one of the only companies that have this, okay? If you already have a Banner product, if a Banner contract, go ahead and take a look at that. All right. If they're under 60, they're in OK Health, or you want the ultimate mortgage protection program, SBLI Easy Track. All right. SBLI Easy Track is right there for you. It goes up to $1 million in face amount. But the key is that it's easy. Okay. And it's instant issue, and it's done today. So there is no underwriting review. There is no, they have to go through the databases and normal stuff that the insurance companies want them to do to verify their identity, to make sure that they're not, dealing with serious medical issues. But they don't have to have all that stuff then reviewed by another underwriter. It's a completely human-free process, and you're on one call, right? And you've got a term policy ready to issue. That is bananas. Nobody else is doing that, okay? And again, you have that available to you right now. SBLI Easy Track contracting is open, right, to digital BGA agents. Banner, you still have to have a case ready to go, and I've got to approve your contracting. But when it comes to SBLI's Easy Track, everybody can jump in on that right now, assuming the normal things, you don't have a bunch of debt that's about to roll up, the drill. But you can do SBLI Easy Track today, and it really is easy. It's instant issue. And that is the convenient way, and that's the kind of things that our clients are asking us for is, hey, let's do it. Let's do it easy. Let's do it now, okay? They got on the phone with you, for a reason, all right? So let's talk about the phrases that pay, to get them to realize, all right, the risk of delaying, okay? Because before they got on the phone with you, they were all nice and comfortable doing whatever they were doing, right? They were, scrolling Facebook looking for cat videos, right? You know what I mean? They were watching Wheel of Fortune. They were doing whatever. They were nice and comfortable. It's now our job, okay, as advisors, we need to make them a little uncomfortable. You know what I mean? We need to make them a little uncomfortable so that they can make a good decision. Because we don't know what prompted them to make this decision to reach out to us, but we do need to make it a little bit uncomfortable for them so that they are protected adequately, right? So they've got the protection their family needs. And so we don't let this moment, this opportunity pass, without giving them the coverage that they need, because again, they want to feel better now. So a really good question that I like that kind of shows them the risk for delaying is something like this. Hey, what would it mean to your family if you're in the same position, no coverage a year from now? Okay. You sound genuinely curious. All right. And you're like, I don't know, Jim, that sounds kind of cheesy. I'm telling you, it's not. When you ask questions like this and you're genuinely curious and you're genuinely concerned about their family because they're in a bad situation, okay, clients will open up to you and let you know about this burden that they've been carrying around, knowing that they're not covered, okay, knowing that they're leaving their family exposed. So what would it mean to your family if you're in the same position, no coverage a year from now, okay? Now, how about that? How about that burden? What is that emotional cost? What does that mean to them? What does it feel like to them carrying around this idea, knowing that they're exposed, knowing that they're at risk, knowing if they don't come home today, their family is really up a creek tomorrow? What does that feel like? And can you solve that problem as an agent? Of course you can. Does locking this in now give you the peace of mind, that you were looking for? Does locking this in now give you the peace of mind you wanted, And hey, John, there's a couple of different ways we can do this. We can, look under every rock and every nook and cranny, right? Let the insurance company do that. Send a nurse out to do the exam, right? Take some blood. It takes about 6 to 8 weeks, but would something more immediate, would that be a better fit? Is that a little bit more about what you're looking for? Okay. And then you take advantage on the term side of things and the final expense side of things. You take advantage of the fact that they're in good health now and they can qualify for these immediate products now, today. Okay. Because again, they called because they want to feel better now. They clicked on your ad because they want to feel better now. In every other area of their life, they are paying for that convenience. And I encourage you to leave price to the side, for a moment and look at what you can do to help a client now. All right. Because again, that's what they want. That's what they want. That's what they're really asking us to do. Okay. The hardest thing is getting a person on the phone. Next to impossible to get them on the phone again. So when you have problems and they're bringing problems to you and they're raising their hand and saying, look, I need your help, you need to solve those problems now. And thankfully, we have the products and the processes and the companies that are there who can help you solve those problems now. So I encourage you to do that, okay? Hey, if you need any help on the term side of things, you can always reach out through chat. That's at community.digitalbga.com, probably where you registered for this Lunch and Learn, right? You can also reach out to me direct. My email is termlife@digitalbga.com, all right? Michael Perkins, you raised your hand, man. Do you have a questions? You can
a couple slides.
Chat, let me know.
Yeah, hey Jimmy, a couple slides back, you mentioned the easiest companies to do business with for final expense and who's going to approve you quickly. Who are they, please? I'm new and I don't know who the easiest are. I'd love to know who they are.
American Amicable. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
American.
Okay, so
yep. AmAm's a good one. And then you basically, when you want to have three to four companies that you work with. Okay. You want a GI carrier, guaranteed issue carrier. You want a level carrier that's going to, again, work with you and get business approved. And then you also want something in the middle like GTL. Okay. Just hit up your brokerage manager. They'll tell you a little bit more. You talk about what your marketing strategy is and they'll advise you better. But the idea is that, you as an agent, as an expert, you're going to have access to quoters and, industry information that is industry wide. So you'll be able to see all of the companies and all of their rates. And the natural thing that the person wants to do is, I want to go for that lowest price thing. And I'm telling you that clients don't value that. There's never going to be a client that's like Michael. Man, I was thinking about Michael the other day because in all of his underwriting knowledge, he saved me $3 a month. Never like that, right? Never happens that way. They need to get covered now because we don't know what caused them to make that decision, right? It could be death of another family member. It could be death of a friend and they're like, whoa, now they have to do a GoFundMe for that family. It could be something they read. It could be, you never know, right? You never know. But what we do know is you have to strike while that iron is hot, and you got to get them covered now. Got to get them covered now. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, look, that's all I got for you. So I hope you found it helpful. And like I said, if you have any questions on the term side of things, like which companies we would recommend for this kind of stuff, SBLI Easy Track, I think, is where you need to lead, when it comes to your simplified issue term policies. And there's plenty of information in the resource portal about different types of underwriting and stuff. But unless you're talking to a person and they need 10, 15 million, a big case like that's got to go fully underwritten, you really have to lead with the instant issue and the simplified issue options, because again, we got to get folks covered now. Like, that's our job. And we're really not doing their families any justice if we just kind of leave these cases out there hanging out for 6 to 8 weeks while they try and go through full underwriting. You need to get them covered now.